I'm just going to show a lot of still pictures. I've set them on pan and zoom for 3 seconds, and there's several of them, and I'm just going to be quiet while you look. But I warn you, they make you sleepy when you look at them. Here they go. The sound you hear in the background, that's me eating ramen soup noodles. I love them. And drinking water. at about 11:30 at night. these pictures going by right now. I just took them yesterday. You never know. When I take pictures, I never know what kind of pictures I'm going to get. And there's no way of knowing how to get the same kind of picture twice. It's just the luck of the draw, I guess. I've been getting some very interesting pictures lately. Something's going on with light. Light and the sun is not what we think it is. When I read Walter Russell's words, he talks about the sun being all idea is in the sun. And that's thoughts. Our thoughts are in the sun. I think sometimes that's why there's such upheavals. There's so many discordant thoughts that are in the sun now with all the ways people think. I know that sounds weird, but I was reading a book, a metaphysical book that said once we had the planet Neptune was the first one to have human life on it. And everyone could create differently than we create. They created more or less with thought, but yet everyone worked for the good of the whole. Whatever they created was not just to benefit them personally, but the whole. But when that happened, so many people began to be selfish with their thoughts and not think for the good of the whole. And so their thoughts going to the sun became chaotic thoughts, and their world was destroyed because of that. But some survived the destruction of their planet or the destruction that was upon their planet, because they had found shelter in the etheric. They had not given up caring for the good of the whole. But the selfish ones were destroyed in that upheaval. Another esoteric book I read explains how the sun's rays are not hot. They are not. They're rays that interact with our atmosphere and create the heat and the light because of the reaction with our atmosphere. Okay, I got through that. I'm going to show you a few other pictures. I've got so many. As you can see, my library is full. Never the same picture twice, but pretty close sometimes. This one's very interesting. Back to library. Let me go down and find the ones that I really, really wanted to show you. I think it's important how light moves because we're talking about how does energy move, because light is energy. It's almost like it starts out as a round orb, but it tumbles and stretches and falls and flows. It can make any kind of maneuver that it wants to make. It can look like an explosion, like that one right here and that one. And sometimes I can make out what looks like faces in it. I'm not sure that it is faces, but there are things that look similar to faces. I'll just go through here. I like this one right here. That one's interesting to me. And this one had this little thing right here in it. I don't know what it is, but I thought that was interesting. Colors are just like electric. They're electric colors. I have a camera that I get up real close into the orb with. I will put this on for just a little while. Let's see. Play. This is where I get up inside of the orb with my focus up real close. And it's like psychedelic wallpaper. I don't think I would want a wall like this. Maybe a picture, but not a solid wall. It would probably drive me crazy. I look at these pictures as they flow by and I think, wow, they're getting me sleepy looking at all of this. Now, there are people who say, you're just looking at light, and I have to agree with them. Yes, I'm looking at light, but light is a vast subject, little explored, and it's beautiful. But there's always people who want to make light of what you've discovered and act like, oh, this is just something we learned in high school. I said, well, then show me your pictures. Show me that you can do this. Show me the high school textbook that talks about light looking like this. I don't know, it threatens some people. They don't want to expand their mind or use their imagination. I do a lot of conjecturing, but when you see this many pictures of light and see what all it does, it's just natural that you're going to conjecture what it might be. And I'm not saying I know exactly what it is. I just have feelings. Intuition, you might call it. I've been listening to a lot of videos about quantum physics, and they talk about the atom and how it's composed of photons of light. And I think I'm looking at something here that is really, really tiny. That it's so tiny, it's in another dimension. But yet it's everywhere, because light is everywhere. It's the invisible, maybe you might call it ether. I've thought before that it might be that this light shows some of the orgone. What is orgone in it? So much travels in light. It's like, it's a medium like water is to a fish or air is to us to walk around and breathe. As a matter of fact, a lot of the orbs that I take pictures of in a video form, where I'm taking it in real time, they pulse and they sometimes get in sync with whatever music might be on my computer. And I think there's little living creatures of the light. Sometimes people send me a video of these things called skyfish, or they're rods. They call them rods as well. And they're so fast, it's hard to get them. Well, no one has ever caught one, and I don't know if it's even possible to. But they have slowed down the pictures and shown them. And it's a very interesting subject. Rods. We would be fooling ourselves if we thought that just what our eyes see is what is there. And we know that. There's a lot we don't know, and we don't have instruments to show it yet. And really all we have is gut feelings, or you might call it intuition. That's an interesting one with the black hole that just went by. When I'm filming this and I see a black hole like that, I just think, oh, I'd like to see what's on the other side of that black hole. This is a really strange and mysterious realm. And I never know what color is going to show up next, or if it'll be an orb with that's just pretty much not many colors in it. Now I know for sure this is not something just that cameras do, because I see orbs with the naked eye as well. Not near as clear and definite as these, but I do see them in a different way, where I see a more expansive panorama of them. And some of the things that I show in these pictures are parts of what I see when I see the panorama of a landscape that is on every angle in front of me, like it goes. I can see one that's horizontal, one that's vertical, and everything in between those. It's like we're in a soup, you might say, of light terrains, and we're just part of it, but we can't see it. Now we can, because I've learned how to take pictures of this dimension, and I've yet to hear anyone say exactly what they think it could be that sounds anything like what I think it is, except for my one friend, Gerald, who thinks we're looking at the ether. Or sometimes he calls it looking at orgone and tachyon, that sort of thing. I did do some research about light plasma beings, and also about the plasma that is the ectoplasma that the mediums used to conjure as they had their seances. And this stuff, it was mostly white, but it would come out of their noses or their mouth or their ears, some opening of their body it would come out of, and form an apparition of, say, the semblance of someone, that someone there in their seance maybe knew, a person that they knew. And what I've read about that is, yes, this is something that they could do, but what it does is not a good thing. It's not a good thing because it's destructive to the medium of her physical energy. And not only that, this book I read was talking about, that is the astral shell of a person still stuck on the earth, which if people are wanting to talk to them and call them in some seance to come, they're keeping them from traveling on and getting on with their life on the other side. They're kind of being earthbound, which is not good for them because they need to move on. But some people, when they die, oh, picture of the camper, let me get back, exit out of this. We got this camper. It was in bad shape, but we fixed it up. But let's see, what was I saying? I'll show these. Trying to think what I was talking about before I got out of the area I wanted to be in. But there's many mysteries that we don't understand fully, and that we would reject out of hand because they sound so very weird to us. And this is one of them. See, this darkness sometimes comes over the orb, but it seems like the darkness just gets absorbed by the orb, because you see dark is in each and every one of them. There's a little dark to bring out the coloration of the colors and the distinctness. That's a weird looking thing that's in that hole there. And I often see this little deal right here, that little worm looking thing. This is funny, but you know, there's a lot of little squiggly worm tube looking things that I see in the air. And some people think, oh, that's floaters in your eye. Well, there is a condition where a person's retina gets torn and they have little fragments that blur their vision. But that's not what this is. Because for one reason, it doesn't blur my vision. I see it if I want to, and if I don't want to, I don't see it. Because I have to squint my eyes a little bit in order to see it, which is a deliberate act on my part. The man who built the coral castle, Ed, I can't pronounce his last name, but that guy, just a small guy, well, he also could see things in the air similar to what I see. And he called them seeing chromosomes. That's what he thought it was, chromosomes. Let me go down to another one. I have so many thousands of pictures. Sometimes I want to recall a certain one to look at it again, and I can't find it. Well, I'll start here and show you some of these that are like this. So there was something that Ed, that built the coral castle and lifted all those heavy coral stones, something he knew that was pretty impressive for him to be able to do all that he did. And he went to his grave, no one ever finding out exactly what he did. I guess he kept it a secret because maybe it wasn't time for man to have that kind of power, to know how to do the things that he could do, because he did not divulge it to anyone. He gave us hints and clues, though, that a lot of people are looking into, trying to figure out. Sometimes when I look at this light, I think, I wish I could also hear audio of whatever sound the light makes, but I've yet to hear that. I think first of all there was sound, and then the sound became visible as light at a certain note. I think it was the 33rd degree of well, I'm talking about something I don't know much about, but I just read this, and I don't know how true it is. But at the 33rd degree of the sound, a color was seen. I haven't studied much about sound. My interest has been in light, and I read a lot of books about light, like The Light Shall Set You Free, and The Secret of Light by Walter Russell. So I guess this ability to figure out how to see this kind of atom in this way, or photon, is a result of my interest in light. And in speaking of light, in so many ways, reading the many books that I read about it. But none of those books really explain what this is. I welcome any comments people have. And if you want to tell me, well, it's just light, well, I will say to you on that, it's awfully beautiful light. If it's just light, that's a vast subject, though, light is, because everything is made of light. There's nothing but light, and God is light. So this is a wonderful thing to study, because it's like you're studying God or consciousness or the mysteries that have been hidden from us for so long. Maybe it's time now that we know some of these mysteries. I do have a camera. The first one I had started taking pictures of these orbs with, and I would see this same little character drop down into an orb, and I learned to look for him, and I gave him the name of Harry. He looks like a little hairy spider, but he always looks the same way, and I see him quite often when I'm using that other camera. And I've even gotten to where I can say, Harry, where are you? Please show up. And in a few minutes or a minute or two, he pops down, like as if he heard me. I know, that makes me sound crazy, but if it does, it just does. I make no apology. Because it happened to me, it was my personal experience, and it continues to be, because I get that camera out every few days and look for Harry, and he's always there. But I have to call to him. And sometimes when I call for Harry to show up, he doesn't show up, but more often than not, he does show up after I say, Harry, show yourself. And when I do see him, he's in a terrain that has other little things that I'm familiar with that are always around him. I'm going to do a video with a lot of my pictures of orbs with Harry in them, and some of the other kind of little creatures that live in his domain of light, because they're very unusual looking. I do think he's another kind of life form. If you look at some of my other videos, I do have pictures of Harry in a lot of them. Okay, I'm going to get out of this one and go to the library. Back to the library. I think this is interesting. Look at this little, looks like a checkered board there. It's strange how light does. But when I'm looking with the naked eyes at light, it has so many dimensions and patterns and colors that this is just a little bit of what I see. And a lot of it, of course, I don't see. I like these that are so full of color. I might have played this one. Let me see. I'll play it again. There goes the train. The train passes every 30 minutes at least, and sometimes more often than that. Mostly they're carrying limestone. There's a limestone place where they dig it out of the ground, I guess. And they fill up boxcar after boxcar of limestone. I don't know where they're shipping it to, but someone needs a lot of it. Well, let me go and see one of my albums I have. Sometimes it doesn't work for me. Okay. We'll look at some of these. The colors are just so extraordinary and so electric looking. They're like electric yellow, electric purple, electric red and pink and green. And there's muted colors as well. And see how that one went out and sort of made a ribbon looking thing. Well, I'm probably going to bore you with all these mini pictures. After you see a few, it's like you've seen them all. Although, to me, I'm always looking for something in the way of an orb that looks a little different than anything I've ever taken a picture of yet. And that happens pretty often. So it's an exciting adventure. The next time I take orb pictures, I have no idea what kind of pictures I'll get. Anyway, this is the Dove Lady, and I'm talking at you now, and I'm telling you I'll be talking to you again and showing you probably even more orbs of light, the center of the atom.